Soul Garden. Live, love, be.
Good morning from my smartphone to yours. I'm Castin Love, here from the Serious Story Garden Studios in Costa Mesa, California. This is your Wednesday, Namaste Today. We'd like to introduce a new phenomenon called Secrets of Birthdays, the Love and Lust Report. Has your sex life gotten, frankly, boring? What does it really take to find love? I can tell you. Why are you always with liars? It's so clear. Why do you always date people younger than you? This video answers all those questions. Those 8 numbers in your birthday are like a soul security number. I can find out everything about you. Secrets of Birthdays, now available at secretsofbirthdays.com. Good morning and namaste, and welcome to Namaste Today. I'm your host and spiritual life coach, Christopher Witecki. My modality is psychic astrology, and my personal mission is to stand in my heart, unite the light, and help others unite theirs. This webisode is for Wednesday, March 30th, 2016, and today the Great Human Walk has reached Step 10, I Manifest. Hello friends, thank you so much for logging in. Thank you for allowing me to be of soul service. It is a pleasure to be here for you today. We have finally reached Hump Day, and today really will be kind of that. It's going to feel like the middle of the week because we are loving and trusting our life. And that's what I Manifest is of Step 10. It's I love and I trust. Now if you can't trust, you have to protect. So go through the conscious steps of protecting so you can feel that trust. And when we love and trust, it turns into manifestation. It starts to hold solid. So today we're kind of building a new platform of action. That's what Aries is about, are the actions we're going to take and our plans of action. And today's a new level or a new platform we're kind of laying down there. Now before I get into today's vibe, I want to do a shout out. Hello my friends and lightwalkers. Send me your work, send me your gifts, send me your talents, send me your crystals, send me your book. I'm going to do an April show and tell where I show and tell things that have come in and share with the world. So it's an opportunity to get out to my growing audience. And I also want to say thank you so much for those who have shared the show. Almost every time I do a reading, I ask, how'd you hear about me? And I have to say about 50% of the time, people say, oh, my friend sat me down and said I just had to watch this. So to all those who do that for me and spread the light, that is the greatest gift you can really give me. The greatest gratitude is to share me with someone you love. And sometimes you have to gently nag because they're just not ready yet. But once they have a little encouragement every day, they're on their way. And that's part of what light walking is walking in the light. So looking at today's vibe I think is sunny and somewhat serious. That's due to the combination of different things. For one, I think with I Manifest, we are loving and trusting and protecting. So that's a bit of a serious tone, like a mother hen sitting on an egg, so to speak. But also, I think the moon, which is in Capricorn, adds a serious tone to the day as well. So today my heart is intent on manifesting something new. I'm ready for spring. I'm ready for that Easter egg cracking open. I'm ready to protect my progress so far, and I'm also cautious about the future. So my heart is, kind of tiptoeing, excuse me for hitting the microphone, tiptoeing along the way today. I feel very serious. I feel overly critical. I feel super sharp. I feel a bit emotionally numb, actually. Don't fully feel everything. And that's, I think, because the moon is in Capricorn today, and that makes us emotionally all about business. I'm open to quantum spiritual shifting. That's because Venus has reached step 22 and is conjuncting Chiron today. So I'm opening up to new spiritual dimensions altogether, a new spiritual neighborhood, a new spiritual belonging, finding my posse, okay? These are all the things of step 22, and I'm curious if anyone's having any spiritual miracles going on, please share it in our comment section. And I'm thinking about being focused on our spiritual decisions of the future. So I'm thinking about what my focus is, what I've decided spiritually, what I've decided is the best, most compassionate thing for me, and that's what I am focused on today. So today, I am pursuing spiritual belief. I am moving forward with my soul calling. I am moving into my higher purpose. These are all due to Mars at step 7 of Sagittarius. And lastly, I am healing today. With Venus and Chiron coming together, Chiron at step 22 Pisces means that I am healing my fears. I'm not worried about out-of-this-world spiritual experiences. I'm letting this all just happen. And that's part of the today. So, today's joy question, you choose to accept it, is to love and trust your prior actions and love and trust your future ones. Love and trust what you've already done, and put forward some trust and self-protection, which is laying down what ifs kind of ahead of time. Lay down some self-protection to manifest your future. Love and trust those together. Basically, these together today are manifesting the new strength. So if you don't feel strong, that's what we're building today. We're building that strength. All right, so today we continue on with our 11 steps to serious joy. We're going to move on to probably the most popular step, step 5, which is I think. Hello, friend, and welcome back to our next webisode of the 11 Steps to Serious Joy. I've been helping you each day, kind of going down the steps of consciousness and how they unfold. Today we have reached step 5, which is I think, or Gemini consciousness. All the same vibration. And in the 11th step, step 5 is kind of interesting. The first thing I want to point out is that step 5 is itself this kind of the dimension of dimensions. Step 5 is the dimension where we start to connect all the dimensions. And it's funny, a lot of people say, oh, I'm connecting to the 5th dimension. In my experience or understanding of the 5th dimension, very much like step 5, is the connection dimension that leads to other dimensions. So I think step 5 is the connector, Gemini is the connector, and it's the part of consciousness where we start to put it all together and start to connect everything. Now, what's interesting about step 5 is just the notion of where intellect belongs. There's nothing to think about until step 5. People don't even need their mind or thoughts. So thinking, intellect, written communication, this is all after we learn to protect, love, feel, believe, innovate, and then step 5, we start to think about it. And in our soul evolution, that's the same thing too. So intellectual capacity does oversee all the top steps. Once the mind is on board and is aware of these other states, the mind takes over. So the mind is very much, in step 5, kind of like a bridge between everything above it and everything below it. Okay? But it's not until step 5 in manifestation that there's anything to think about. So this is where I, strongly disagree with The Secret in the sense of thoughts become things. Yes, thoughts become things, but if you have not thought about the first 4 steps, they won't become anything, okay? And there's nothing to think about until step 5. There's nothing to think about. There's nothing to process. There's nothing to connect. There's nothing to go forward with. So our mind does not belong, taking over. That's another interesting thing, too, as far as the architecture of incarnation. What is most important? Boundaries, love, emotion, beliefs, innovation, before thoughts. And so our thoughts are meant to manage these things and look inward. In fact, I think the Gemini mind it looks inward and it looks outward from this point up as well, from step 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right? I like to think of a dice pattern, of a dice where you see a little dice. You have 4 dots and with 1 dot in the middle. That's really the nature of step 5, I think. Remember, in the primitive stage, there's three dimensions, right? Where you have the perceiver who is observing, the left and the right. But then when you get to step 5 and your mind really comes out alive, it's really that you have a perceiver in the center with two on each side. So it's almost like the mind can just keep dividing into dual processors and dual processors and dual processors in 2s and 2s and 2s. But really it's that core juggling 4 opportunities or 2 sides basically. On each side there's 2 ways to go. This is pretty much standard thinking, all right? And this is how I think works. You're putting all these dots together and seeing how they compare. So our thinking connects the first 4 steps with the top 6 steps. And it's our mind that brings it together. In fact, our mind, I think, has two hemispheres, a logical right brain and an intuitive left brain. The left brain is technically, I think, ruled by step 7, Pisces, and the right brain is ruled more by the Gemini. But Gemini rules the whole brain, and it's constantly going back and forth between our thoughts. So if you were born with Mercury in the first Act 1, which are steps 0 through 10, you were learning still to be mindful of yourself. And this first active, I think, is all about being mindful of yourself. Are you mindful of your feelings? Are you mindful of your heart? Are you mindful of your decisions? Are you, all the steps? Are you mindful of all the steps? Like a lot of people are completely not mindful of their emotions. Ooh, there's a big wind gust. A lot of people are not mindful of their heart, right? So a lot of people, try to skip that first act, and they're not mindful of themselves, and you really have no business in going to Act 2 of thinking if you're not mindful of Act 1 thinking, of where you are in yourself, okay? Now, the second act, which is Mercury from steps 11 to step 19, is being mindful of manifestation, mindful of conversation, mindful of ideas of exchange. So all of your mid-range thinkers are your teachers, your communicators, your news reporters, basically your people who are talking and communicating for a living. Operators, 911 operators, you name it. They're all proficient thinkers, as I call it, and that's because they're always giving and exchanging information. These people are pretty aware of themselves because they're using that awareness to give and receive better. The more you know yourself, the more you are willing to adopt or translate your information. Then the Act 3 thinkers. These are your master thinkers, your masterminds. And it's funny, masterminds are so up into the future, so projected in the future, that masterminds usually completely, so here's a mastermind, this is proficient, this beginner. Usually the mastermind completely skips the beginner stages. So a mastermind quite often is really brilliant, but can't find their keys. Okay, and can't and their glasses are on their head, and they're like, "Where's my glasses?" It's like, "Hey, mastermind," So with everything comes it's clumsy, but masterminds are focused on emotion, and these are emotionally led thinkers. And emotionally led thinkers come to grand, profound conclusion because emotion is all energy in motion. So if you're mindful of your feelings, you're mindful of everything, your entire soul. So your masterminds are that. Now your masterminds become master messengers, poets, computer programmers, encryption, computer, really genius thinkers who are using their emotions and their intuition to find the right solution, not methodically making their brain tick-tock down the road, okay? And before I close, I just want to talk about the opposite of thinking, and I get the opposites based on the location of the house. So in classic astrology, I think is the 3rd house, or Gemini, and across from it is I believe, which is Sagittarius. And I'm not saying I believe it, I'm saying it's I believe. So in other words, when you want to quit thinking, focus on what you believe. A lot of people are like, I can't keep my mind quiet. Focus on what you believe. What do you believe in? Do you believe in this? Yeah. And you'll see that when you go into your beliefs, you kind of go into a feeling about it, but there's not a lot of intellectual thought. And again, if you're off thinking, you're not believing, right? So this is why a lot of idiots will believe something and they really haven't thought through it at all. And that's because they've just stayed in the belief. They haven't gone to the I think part of it. Okay, so the opposite of thinking is believing. There's nothing to think when you believe. Okay, and realize that. Alrighty, well this concludes our I think consciousness, step 5, I'm alive. And from this point on, we cross a certain barrier. In fact, thoughts and emotions are both very powerful steps, step 2 and step 5. And 2 and 5 really are where a lot of people drive from their feelings and their thoughts. So getting into those 2 are great. From this point forward, tomorrow we'll talk about step 6, which is the first time we receive anything for all this invisible conscious awareness. All right, thank you. We'll see you next time. And welcome to the Zen Den. So I'm going to help you with your manifestation. I personally love the colors blue and gold. So I'm going to cast a royal blue light around me and fill it with gold. And you can step in and recharge if you like. It's just kind of part of our co-creation. Let's take 3 breaths on this windy day and see what Creator has to say. Winds of change are certainly upon us. So I definitely got a planet there, but before I go into the planet, I want to give an affirmation for the day, one that'll help you carry on your manifestation. And we are working on willpower in Aries, so this is quite simple. I love and trust my new willpower today, and so it is. I love and trust my new willpower today, and so it is. Now remember, you can't trust unless you've gone through the conscious steps of protecting, of like holding space and saying you don't want these certain things to do or to happen. That is your soul assurance. And that's what a lot of my text message service is too, is constantly telling people, hey, where to be conscious and cautious. And once you are, you can relax into that. So make sure you have thought through that. But once you have thought through it and there's nothing else to question or worry about, you want to just surrender and trust. You want to just go with it. Just kind of not question it, not let it fall apart, not pick it apart, but just kind of hold that space of whatever you're trying to do, particularly if it's a will that you want to move forward. Like I want to start working out or I want to start doing this. So a certain willpower, just letting yourself let that willpower gel and come into fruition. So let's take a look at the planets and see what they are saying to us today. First of all, we're at step 10 here, step 10 of Aries. And step 10 is I love and I trust. That's the 1 and the 0. And like I just said, we have to go through that conscious protection to trust. Mercury, our mind, is up ahead at the decision, step 8. So as we're manifesting, we're kind of holding our eye to some sort of line or degree or decision that we've made. And this is something that we are aiming for. Now, Mercury is beginning to conjunct step 19, Uranus. And what this means is after we manifest this foundation here, based on our decision and what we're loving and trusting, we're going to be taken up a notch. Everything's going to manifest higher. In fact, Uranus is at step 19, which is the next manifestation step. 1 plus 9 makes 10. So in a way, we're already starting to do that. We're trying to take our life higher. But I think once you agree and accept and receive, you are taken higher, literally. And it's funny I say that, once you agree and accept and receive, because that is the planet that Creator gave me in meditation just now. Venus at step 22 and conjunct Chiron. So Venus and Chiron are making love here at step 22. This is where we basically find 2 different emotional parts of ourselves that now make us feel whole or greater or stronger. That's the first part. So you find an emotional peace within yourself, one emotion and another emotion. Now the planet I got from the guides where Venus was Venus, and Venus is what we're open to. So for many people, and we'll talk about Venus step 6 tomorrow, for many people the issue is that they can't open or don't open or aren't open. And what my spirit guide said when I was meditating just now was that you have to ask, you have to say, hey, spirit guides, Creator, I'm totally open to the next dimension. I'm totally open to receiving this, and so it is because I said so. And especially when I go to these higher stairways, okay? These are for people who want to ascend the human experience. So you got to ask, you got to receive, you got to open the door, you got to walk, okay? So it doesn't just happen to you. You have to request it, and that's what came to me. So today we can go with your feelings, you go with what's right. While you're manifesting this foundation, you're opening the stairway to heaven, you're opening up to a new potential communion with Spirit. And perhaps this whole next lap, this whole ego we're building in Aries, perhaps this entire ego will be spiritually based and aiming for higher spirit. The last time that Neptune was working in this particular Pisces, this isn't Chiron, but Neptune was the civil war. So in a way, with Neptune at lower degrees here in Pisces, but still working very strong, Neptune's at step 10, we are also kind of affirming some new moral convictions at the same time at the bottom level. So you can see that bottom level spirit work, and we can see that higher level in each person and personality. Now the moon today is in Capricorn. Look at that, it was at 0 degrees at 11:21 a.m. Isn't that funny? Always when it starts to get fun, in this case when it starts to get serious. Having the moon move into Capricorn, in the early degrees of Capricorn, there's a lot of self-judgment, there's a lot of self-criticism. So you want to be conscious to not judge yourself right now. What we're judging is probably what's going to die here in the next 24 hours when the moon crosses over Pluto at step 17. This means we have new decisions that where the final line is, that's Pluto. And Pluto's basically the executioner. So a lot of feelings are going to come up that we want to kill off, literally. And they're coming up not because we're meant to feel bad, but because we're meant to identify bad feelings and release them. Like, I'm done with these, let these go. So allow that to happen and try not to be too self-critical. Another interesting thing that's happened in the last 24 hours is, look at this, Mars is at 707. That means that we are pursuing Mars, pushing our willpower. Don't forget, Mars is the ruling planet of Aries. And so everything that Mars and Aries is manifesting today is this spiritual platform of our beliefs. So our more spiritual beliefs being Sagittarius. Our mind is deciding with that same 7 right there. Kind of interesting, huh? So today it is a willpower, and it is also an aggression towards spirit. There's another 7 there with Pluto at 17, and the final line is where spirit says. So again, with Venus conjuncting Chiron in Pisces and spirit, if you're going with spirit, you're probably making some interesting decisions about what you act on, where the final line is, and what you're committed to here in the future. All right, we're almost at 7 minutes. That's perfect, spirit. If you're watched over my personal Sensei service, I want to put out there to you that today your eye candy at 3 p.m. is going to help you understand where you manifest naturally in life. So today's an I Manifest Day, and I'm referring to, in your natal astrology, where Earth's placement was at birth. And I believe Earth is a powerful symbol of where we manifest, and I'll talk about where you manifest naturally. You should at least be manifesting there today, if nowhere else, at 3 p.m. your local time. For those who are interested in learning more about my personal Sensei service, come on down to soulgarden.tv or seriousjoy.me. Also, don't forget, I am doing birthday calls. I've started doing Aries birthday calls and surprise calls and had some very nice ones. Ironically, one birthday call was my brother's birthday. They had the same as my brother's birthday. So isn't that kind of funny how that sort of thing happens? But you can find out more about that also on my website at soulgarden.tv under the Services tab. All right, my friends, it is a windy day in Southern California. I'm going to let you go to your own personal wind. Remember, I love you, and live, love, be.
So